As defined in an old Greek movie, the true meaning of Kéfi is that desire left over after pain and sorrow. It's that outburst that turns into a smile, a song, or a dance. Kéfi is when you enjoy life in a holistic way and accept things you can't control but still find meaning in them. And sometimes, Kéfi is even stronger when life is tough, when you're grateful for the full spectrum of your emotions. Life is full of such contrasting moments, and that's what we talk about in the Kéfi podcast. Welcome to this little new podcast, Fabio Palvelli. It's great to have you as my guest this time. And I remember it's been a long time ago that you had me on your little show, right? How are you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. You know, we're putting up with the new weather. We recently moved from Tel Aviv to now Zurich. And the weather went from being 35 every day to foggy and...
to whatever that shit is, you know?
Yeah. You can breathe it and then you spit it out because your lungs get full of it, you know?
It's called humidity. That's water.
I had no idea it existed.
Come on, man. You're from Italy. It's not that different.
I'm from the south, so, you know.
Okay, it's different.
I remember as a kid, we were making fun of the people of the north, and I was like, for us, the north was another continent, right?
Okay.
And then I remember going to Milano once for an event, and I was like, people weren't kidding. It's really like yin and yang, two different things.
I remember seeing Bud Spencer in a talk show, and I don't know what his Italian name is, but I only know him as Bud Spencer. You know the guy, right? Come on,
yeah, of course. Yeah. I have to remember it.
But the guy was in this talk show, and they said like, "So you're from Italy?" And he's like, "Neapolitan."
Yeah. It's like, you know, once I was in America, and we were lost looking for a place, and then all of a sudden this guy started to talk to us, and I was like, "Okay, be careful," you know. And he spoke in Italian, but with an American accent. And I was like, "Oh, you're Italian." And I was like, no, Sicilian. I'm like, all right, you didn't get the memo.
Yeah. It's like people say, like the smaller the core, the harder the shell. The smaller you go. Like sometimes it's just towns having war with another villages. And they don't even realize they're in the same country and should just shut the fuck up. And then you go to a bigger scale and are like, man, it's the same continent, the same world.
I don't know how the situation is in Greece, but when I hear politics in Italy, now not anymore because they shifted their focus of hate towards black people and immigrants coming from, you know, refugees and stuff. But before it used to be like North versus South. It's so stupid, you know. You get out of Italy. I lived for almost 20 years all over the world. You realize that they're just the same people, same country with the same problems. You know, they share the same bullshit. Exactly.
It's a different thing to have a political preference, to have a certain idea about things should run, especially now considering Greece and Turkey, and it's a different thing to put it on the people and. I mean, it's like that anywhere, everywhere. But this is not a political podcast. This is about well-being and work and life. And why don't you tell us a little bit what you work on for those who don't know you?
I am one of the co-founders of the D2 conference, which is this conference about architecture of visualization. And I also run a small consulting business where I work mainly with other designers on client acquisition, positioning, marketing, all that kind of stuff. I've also worked with software companies on this kind of stuff. I'm basically a designer. I don't really call myself an artist, although to some extent you could call me an artist as well. I've learned later on in life marketing, business related stuff, and I decided to take that path, so to say. And yeah, I've been doing this for a while now. I've been a designer since more or less 2008, 2009. And I did my last commercial image, I think, in 2017. And then I decided to go full into my consulting business and the conference. And it's been now 4 years that I'm doing that.
Mm-hmm. How's it going?
It's going good. It's been very difficult the past few months because of the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
We have had really a big inflection in the in, so to say, my curve, both with the D2 and the consulting business. It's been hard because, this is something that has never happened to the people of our generation. And so there was a period of time in which we had to go through where we had to relearn some of the standards linked to our industry. And to be honest with you, from the conversations that I'm having with people that are involved in the same field, it's not like we are close to understanding what is happening. A lot of the things are being rewritten and reconsidered, and there is a lot of uncertainty. And I think that uncertainty at the time, it's weighing on the moral and on the psychic, or what do you call it, the psychology of people.
Do you feel like this is something that would be permanent because people are afraid that it happens again, or do you think that it's just something temporary?
Well, hopefully, we are going to get out of the pandemic. Now they've announced.
Yeah, just mean the preference towards it, like how this is approached, because some are talking about this like it is something permanent and will change the idea how people work together forever and everything, like just the holistic approach.
I think it's a little bit hard to say right now. I think that there is a human will, and this has nothing to do only with like designers. I think that, generally speaking, people are willing to want to go back to what it used to be, because there is a certain social aspect of being always at home and closed inside. Before, for me, since I work from home, my escape, so to say, was going to events, just like you, I guess, where I could meet people, I could talk to them, I could have a chance to have face-to-face conversation, which I think it's something that at a certain point as a society we would have to go back to, because I think that the platformization that all the social media outlets have created, and the impact that this platformization has had on the way humans behave, is one of the causes why it feels like more than ever that we live in a society that it's extremely split, that it's extremely polarized, and that people have lost basically the ability of navigating the gray zone, right, between the two opposites. And we see it all the time. I see it myself as a content creator. You put a piece of content out there and people automatically jump to conclusions, sometimes even without going through the piece of content, And this is because I think it's the way you provide the information, right? And the way also that people can manage the information that it's provided. The fact that, you have control not only on the way you want to perceive the information, but also on the fact that you can give a feedback on that information. And so, everything feels like it's so fast. And so even the feedback that you get on the information that you put out there, it's so fast. And this is something of modern society. You can simply think of 20 years ago, if you worked on an architectural project, I'll give you the example of, my field, everything would happen either over the phone. You would have to send, I remember still when I was in London, I was working still as an architect. We would send the drawings to our client on a bicycle. And so,
with a courier.
With a courier. And so the guy would get on the phone and would say, yeah, we got the drawings, we'll look at them, we'll get back to you, and maybe, if we have to make a comment, we'll have a meeting. And the whole process was a lot more humanized, right? Because we would have a chance to discuss things. Nowadays, you work on a project, you send an image, 3 minutes later, you get all the corrections, on a PDF or whatever. And that feedback of hell that is created by this fast-moving society, which in reality doesn't even move that fast. It's just the perception that we have that is moving fast. That adds up to the way we conceive and perceive and consume information nowadays. And so I think it's, the reason why I wanted to be on this podcast is because I think that people don't even want to acknowledge the fact that there is that mental side of things that people simply don't consider. And I don't know why. For the life of me, I don't know why. The other day somebody made a comment about the fact that I read a lot of self-help books, right? Mm-hmm. And, it was like, it's pointless to read a self-book. And I can understand the reason why somebody might say that. But at the same time, I'm like, don't we live in a society where it's all about information, right? However, the difference you can only make once you get that information and once you decide to do something with that information. If you don't do anything with that information, then of course it's pointless, right? to read a self-help book.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I think that, podcasts like this can address issues like these, and so props to you for doing it.
Thank you. When I'm hearing these about comments like this, I always wonder, like, don't they acknowledge the difference between, or maybe they do, but often I see that people don't acknowledge there's a difference between saying it's not for me or saying this shouldn't be something for you. Like, because you like it, you are that. Because you like that movie, you are a sucker. Because you like that comic, you are not a true fan. A true fan would never do that. A true artist would not. True. Like, who are you? Why would you judge that?
It's a little bit like, I remember having a conversation with somebody years back about, the importance of how good is a frame on a picture, right? You can look at a picture and the picture is great. The frame might not have an important role on the way the picture looks, but it's still very important. It goes like this also with information and with conversations and with relationships. You always have to look at the frame of reference. It's a different type of frame, but whatever it is that you're putting the information in, you should be able to understand that there is also that. And it's funny because, when I talk about how much you should charge for an image, for instance, right? Then people come to me and say, yeah, you said in your video that I should charge 1,000, but my client has only asked me to make a small picture and it takes me 5 minutes. And I'm like, well done, man, for understanding that what I said that did not apply at the context of where you're coming from, It's like, yeah, but, I'm from India, I can never charge that money. I'm like, okay, great, you understand it. It's like, and I feel like it should not be my responsibility as a content creator to have to always explain myself 100%, right? People should be able to use their own intellectual abilities to understand what it has been said. Because, the conversation that you and I might be having within the context of, political podcast or economic podcast, will not make sense, right? It will be not relevant. And I think,
agree to a degree, because there's the distinction of being the one who says something like, you should always consider that you have to talk like that. You should always, and generally, you should always charge. Well, it's different to say like, you could do that. You could charge this. Depending on where you are, you could do this. Obviously, there's a way as a content creator to give people some hints about how they process information. But it doesn't take away the responsibility of the listener to process information. Because in the age of information, this is the most important thing you have to do.
Exactly. You know, once I was at a, what is it called? It's a forum for entrepreneurs when I was living in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv, it's a center for innovation. That's basically what they do. Every single day, there are meetups, there are people getting together to talk about, you know, what is the next thing and how this might be not relevant for this conversation, but how do you preserve the value of innovation? Because that's another big thing when we talk, especially about design. I forgot where we were going with this. Sorry. That's what I do, Spiridon. I take my tangents and then I'm
Never mind.
like,
We were talking about
100%.
processing information.
Yes.
Does it
Now
help?
I forgot what we were talking about.
Tel Aviv
But anyway,
innovation.
that's what I said.
I fucking love it.
It's okay. That's what I do. That's what I do, and I'm very comfortable with it.
No, good. I'm not cutting this out.
No. It's, keep it in there. Keep it in there.
Okay.
It's
Go along.
it's who I am.
Yeah. Do you have anything to follow along, or should I give you another one?
No, I cannot think about it, but maybe we'll go back to it anyway.
Okay. So if you were hanging out at forums for entrepreneurs and people who follow you, you have a well-running YouTube channel, and you are very much about giving people such information they can process. You just mentioned it, like there was this guy answering to a video of yours. So this is what you do. You create content, you talk with people, you probably encountered one or two trolls in your life, and you probably also had your fair share of people who really love what you are doing. Why are you doing it?
I do it mainly because, first of all, it's a very good tool for me to get clients. People that are working in the field, they see it, they get in touch, and that's usually how we start working together. But I also do it because I think, you know, with the D2, I was put in a place of, so to say, what do you want to call it, of authority, right?
Maybe responsibility.
Responsibility is probably a better word. And so the reason why I put this content out is that the more the industry thrive, the more people can come to our conference. It's as simple as that. The more people can come to our conference, the more we can ask sponsors to pay us, the more tickets we can sell, the more my business will grow. It's as simple as that. And I do that on my own time. I don't get paid for doing that. I do it out of really like the passion that I have for the work that gets produced within this industry. And so I try to put that information out there for people to get it. Now, whether people like it or not, that's something else. But I do it because it's basically, it has helped us and the business to grow.
So, real talk. How much of that aspect is a healthy approach towards getting confirmation for what you're doing?
In the very beginning, I was a lot more ambition in terms of like, yeah, I'm gonna get big and I'm gonna become the Gary Vaynerchuk of 3D. The more I did social media, the more I started to be like, you know what, I really don't care. I have a business, it's going good. I'm making, you know, enough of a decent living for me to buy myself my shoes. I don't know if you can see it, but like, There are shoes scattered all over the place. That's my my thing.
Not my world. I sometimes don't even wear socks, man. Like,
and you know, and I started to get more detached from the idea. Now, of course, you know, I still do it because people sort of like use it as a, you know, they confirm your authority or your importance with the numbers, right? Mm-hmm. And so they look at the subscribers and they look at the amount of people that follow you. But like, for instance, my Instagram, which at a certain point I was using mainly to answer the questions, because that was another problem, that, you know, too many questions were coming in and they were too spread out, emails and comments. And so I was like, you know, come to Instagram and leave me a message there. I will see it. I've set that to private because I'm like, people just want to chime in into your life and they don't even know who the hell you are. You know, like they make comments about the way you look. It's like every single day I post pictures of me wearing whatever and they're like, they laugh at you.
What? Why?
Yeah, man. I don't know, it's very weird because the archivist community, it's a very small bunch. It's really a small bunch. And once you put yourself out there, especially with videos, people automatically assume that you're some sort of like entertainer, actor, whatever.
But I mean, if you make a video, you entertain, right?
Yes, absolutely. And to be honest, this is a specification that I should make a little bit more often. Like, the idea of me making a piece of content is, first of all, to create some sort of entertainment. Yeah. Now, it could be info entertainment, so to say, but it is still a form of entertainment.
Exactly.
And I think that people need to make the differentiation nowadays, because it's like, you should leave it to entertainment. Now, you can decide what to do with that information, but do understand that the frame of reference of that piece of content that I made is entertainment. And so you should consider it as such. You want to have a deeper conversation, you want to have something a little bit more, we should meet in person and we should have a conversation in person, right? Even better, you should pay me to say, I have a problem, solve it to me. Because you know how many times like I get emails from people and say, you're the only one that can help me, this is my issue. Yeah. I spend the time 1 hour to write an email, and then you'll see that this person has done the opposite of what you told them. It's like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore.
If you look at these things that you just mentioned about numbers, and that being something like a statement towards the importance of responsibility or authority, of reach or whatever it is. Now, if you see this as a correlation with the conversation that you actually would have in life, what is more important to you when you create content? Is it to reach as many people as possible to grow your business, and which translates into subscribers, etc.? Or is it to make that one video for that one fan maybe, or that one person that will take something out of it and it will change the life? Is it more about the mass and the money it generates, or is it about feeling good with that one person that you reached? And if you even have just one subscriber and that person is like super happy with what you're doing, would you still do it? Or is it more about it has to translate with time and money?
In the very beginning, it was the first that you said. Now it's definitely the second. And I'll tell you what, my numbers are going down. People are not watching my videos as much as they used to. But some of the learning experiences that I've had in my life that I might have gotten from a book or something, I read every day. I really do. Like, I sit here in front of the screen, I'm not even kidding, and I do at least one chapter of reading per day. Sometimes I go like 60, 70 pages, but I do it, you know, beside my breathing, and I do also like acceptance exercises. We can talk about it a little bit later.
Yeah, sure.
But I do that. To me, now, the fact that I have a channel where I can put stuff, it's about me doing what I think has value. Honestly, I don't care about the viewership. I don't care about how many people are going to watch it. Obviously, it makes me happy when that happens, right? It's that little trigger, but I don't pursue it that much anymore. I used to a lot, and if you look at the way my channel grew over the past 2 or 3 years, that growth was a lot more exponential. Now it's stalling, but I don't care. I have a few people that really tune in because they want to sort of like look at the world the way I probably look at it. Some of them are clients of mine that watch the stuff, and we have like monthly meetings where we do catch-ups. And like they tell me, Fabio, before working together, I really did not see all the stuff that I'm able to see right now. And that is really like, it makes me happy because it gives a certain sense of purpose to what I'm doing. It's, it sounds like la stuff, but
no, it doesn't.
I think you need to feel it, in order to understand what that is.
With the knowledge that you have now, would you have started things the same way?
No, absolutely not.
What would you do different?
Well, first of all, okay, I can be specific for the ArcViz industry.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I would try and the one thing that a lot of people don't understand is that it takes time for things to build up. And so trying to establish a KPI that has some sort of positive feedback within 1 or 2 years, it's a waste of time. In 1 or 2 years, you're barely understanding what the clients that are in your industry actually want. And so, that kind of groundwork that you do at the beginning isn't really work that you're doing towards your business, it's work that you're doing towards yourself. What you do in your business comes a lot later. And this is something that I always say to my clients. I'm like, you would have to spend probably the first 2 years of the time that you learn the new things to sort of like relearn how to look at the industry. And this is something that I would do. I would say, okay, if we have to do this, then we need to have a clear plan of action where we do the research and development beside all the activities of like growing the business. I would probably spend a lot more time working privately, like having a job, and try at the same time to build relationships with possible clients and be a little bit more selective, because that's another thing that happens when you start a business without really having a client base, that you basically have to take everything that comes in, and that eventually puts the basis for your business. And those bases, if they're really bad, they can be damaging in the long run, because they will they will put you basically behind your competition. There are many things that I would do different, and probably, in retrospective now, I would not go back because I'm in a very happy place right now. But this is something that when I am with clients and we can talk about this, I try to make them understand how it is that successful companies are built from the ground up. And this is another thing where I think social media is very damaging, is that very often these success stories that we hear, they are very well curated and they do not expose the entirety of what that story is. And I can give you a very simple example. You posted something recently that you love your job, and the book was founded in, I don't know, very short time, right?
Yeah.
If somebody starts a Kickstarter and fails and sees you posting that thing, that guy will say Kickstarter is bullshit, they don't understand what I'm doing, they don't understand what I'm trying to do. And that's because the story that you have fed is very curated in that small phrase that you have posted, right? And this is the problem, one of the problems with today's society, is that, we only get to see the tip of the iceberg and not what's behind it.
Yeah.
which I think it's very damaging. People should always say, okay, what's behind it? It's not that
A second.
Sorry.
Yeah, like, I understand what you're saying, but nobody can talk about the fucking iceberg all the time, right? Like, you can't.
Yeah, it gets
you can't say, "Wow, life is great." By the way, it's not great all the time because yesterday, and then you start the entire story. I cannot talk. Nobody can talk about the business and all the sides all the time.
Don't think that I'm pointing the finger against you.
No. I'm just clarifying I think the dangers with social media and why it's even worse is that you can only give people morsels, right? This is if they think that a social media post is anything like counseling about business and explaining things, the problem is with the reader, and this is again processing information.
Yes. You're totally right. And this is something that the viewers need to also learn. One of the criticisms that I often get under my videos is that I am too positive and that the message of positivity that I'm trying to share does not reflect the reality of the industry, which, to a certain extent is correct, but I've tried to make videos where I was a little bit more serious, and those videos, they bombed completely.
Bombed like how? Nobody watched them, or people hated them?
Yeah, nobody watched them, or you could see that, the after the first 2 minutes, people logged away.
Because that's boring, right?
Yeah, and the fucked up thing is that sometimes I go and rewatch those videos, and I'm like, this is content that my clients pay me thousands of euros, to teach them and to train.
And you get it for free.
And I'm giving it for free, and people don't watch it. And I'm like, and I'm not blaming people. I just realized that this is how it works. You have to find some sort of balance between the two things. And that's the reason why sometimes, I made a video where I paid 3 people on Fiverr to make a rendering. And, the video, it's basically a parody. I designed a penis-shaped building, and I tried to find 3 people to do it. It was supposed to be a joke. And yet you had people saying, yeah, well, but, with that building, what were you expecting? I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. It's like, it's like, try to use your brain and understand that this is a little bit of comedy. But then again, you cannot think like that because it's virtually impossible to get everybody to understand what it is that you're trying to communicate. And you can read an article online that it's written, that it's there, and people will have a different understanding of that article. It has to do with the mood that you're in. It has to do with the experience that you might have had a few hours back. We get biased, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think the secret, though, is that the way you use the internet is that you have to take what you think is useful to you, and you simply have to discard what is not useful. It's as simple as that. Instead of falling into those traps of creating that kind of interaction that then leads to views. And sometimes I'm guilty of that myself. If somebody makes a comment and they criticize me, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna write that. Maybe I'm gonna get, 100 views more or something, just because I can get the conversation going. But now, hopefully, and I say hopefully because you never really know, now I'm in a position where I'm able to make those comments without really feeling it in my belly. Why is that person so stupid? Or, and it used to happen a lot more before. Now I just don't care. I make that content because at the end of the month, when I do my roundup with my clients, I say, I made a video about that. If you need it, just go and watch it, and I send it to them.
There's this idea about social media that amplified our reach and the people that we're talking to, and maybe that we consider friends because Facebook tells us, right, that they are friends. I think that it was in this documentary that probably everybody saw, which is on Netflix right now, about the social media.
The social dilemma, yeah.
Right. So about people not being supposed to know so many people. Like, you're not supposed to have more than just a circle of folks around you. I mean, there's always someone like, I don't know, like a person in charge of a company or something like that. But even they don't have 1 million followers or something like that, right? And so obviously the level of people giving you negative response to something that is supposed to get a positive response will be much bigger. This is simple math.
Yes.
And we are not made to actually deal with that. I want to get back to this at another point. I want to answer about these, because you talked about the crowdfunding. It just came to my mind that the reason why I'm not explaining things anymore online, I'm not giving as many tips as I used to do and all that, was because I encountered so many assholes. I recently read this word and I'm absolutely fascinated by it. An asshole is someone who asks you for advice and just does the opposite anyway. So
that's what I told you before.
Yeah, like, so exactly. This is why I remembered it. It's so funny because, I mean, obviously nobody has to follow with your advice, right? But then again, you spend so much time explaining yourself, and it's worth nothing because people do the same mistakes. And if you are just telling them the way you did it before is wrong because the system doesn't work like that, and they just do the same thing again and expect a different, well, like, this is madness, right? By definition.
Yes, it is. It is. And what you said, I read a book from an Italian sociologist. They did some experiments in the 60s to show what were the benefits and the psychological status of people in different communities. And the smaller the community was, the more, so to say, problemless that community was from a psychological point of view.
Obviously, yeah.
If you see how religion works, right? I'm not a religious person myself. I was brought up religious, and then I let religion go in my 20s. But the way religion works, the reason why it's so successful, it's because of the fact that it gives you that sense of belonging, right? And this is a very human thing to have. I used to criticize a lot people that were passionately religious, but then later on I've realized that this is something that, unless you've experienced something different, it cannot be changed because it happens at a human level. Even being agnostic, or like, what do you call it when somebody doesn't believe in any religion? Atheist. That is also belonging to a group of people that don't believe in religion, And paradoxically, that is also a type of religion in itself. You just don't believe in the man or in the woman or in the elephant or whatever. The point that I'm trying to make is that the more you know, the more you understand how people act and interact, the better can you deal with everything that is happening around us, digitally and physically. However, my recommendation to those who come to me and say, well, I've been told this stuff online, or, I've been bullied because of my art or because of my work, I'm like, that happens because we're connected, and this idea of being connected is that, we are supposed to be interacting with people. But the reality is that a lot of these interactions, they come from people that don't even know you. And so, like, if at a certain point it becomes so poisonous and so that it weighs so much on your soul, then, just cut them out. Like, one of the things that I've done, I told you already, is that I made my Instagram profile private. If people really do care about getting in touch with me, or, if they want to interact with me, they can send me an email, or they can, send me a message and say, I don't even do that anymore because it's taking me too much time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's the thing, like if before, when everything was public, even with Instagram, I would see also people in my stories that did not follow me to just come and see what I was doing, because then they could bitch about it with their friends. And this still happens today. That I don't want to get into the nuts and bolts of that, but it's
Yeah.
like, I'm sharing my perspective as a very small content creator, because I am a small content creator. Um, Practice acceptance and let these things go. They really don't have importance, you know.
Um, so on the perspective of someone who creates content and probably has his stuff out there, which I mean, I do that myself, and even this podcast could be seen as something like this. And I mean, there's opinion schmopinions. There will be always people who think that something happens for a certain reason, but they just don't know. And you realize that those people are the ones that you were just talking about because they pretend to know. On that perspective, I wonder, how could it be so easy for people who, for example, like in this pandemic, connect with others through social media, and this is the only way they do it, and they take everything negative probably way more important than the positive stuff, which is a very which is a trait that a lot of creative people have. Like they take the criticism way more important than the compliments, and cannot probably even deal with compliments. So what was I trying to say? Like in that sense, how has it become for you easier to do that, to be able to cut people, because you say just cut them out, but I'm certain that a lot of people have no idea how to even do that, because you can't just control your subconscious.
I think, Facebook is doing a great job and not showing notifications, which is amazing. And I think that this is a very good thing, actually. I was complaining about it a few days ago, but then in retrospective, I'm like, that's great. I don't have to really like answer people for stupid things. I prioritize on like direct conversations. I have a WhatsApp number, and every time that it's somebody that needs to talk to me, they can reach me directly. I really I think of myself as being a television station, so to say. That if I put out a piece of content, the piece of content is there. The viewer has the ability, because of YouTube, to write a comment. I don't even look at them anymore. I disabled all the notifications. If people need something, or they just writing something, I don't look at it anymore. Not because I don't want to participate or I don't want to interact, but the thing is that we are made of negative and positive feedback, right? The way we act during the day. If I get the positive feedback and I get one negative, that negative, it's going to make me sad the whole time. So I might as well not just look at anything. And that's the way I do it.
But
And
ignoring is not cutting out. I mean, cutting out sounds more like a conscious effort to see something that is negative and taking it away.
This is just for the content. This is just for the content. For the interactions, if somebody keeps bothering, I cut them out. I really cut them out. I've had a few experiences in the past, and this is continuing right now, of people that I worked with in the past that have said things about me when I confronted them, because in the beginning I was trying to confront them as well. They would lie to my face even though they knew that they did wrong. And so to a certain extent, I thought it's not even worth to be in contact with these people, because all they do, they try to poison you. And this is there are some people that continuously do that. It's been years and they still do it. Because you hear things, people talk about you. And I'm like, if they're talking about me, it means that I'm doing something that they would like to have done and they did not manage, because that's the only reason why they're still upset or something, you know? And so to a certain extent, when that happens, it makes me smile a little bit, but then I know that those people are not in my life anymore, and so that they cannot affect me directly. And this has worked out magic. So I tell you, because a few years ago, around 2018, 2018, I really hit rock bottom. I was really working on my business, and I was putting out content every week, 2 or 3 times a week, overworked like crazy. The first money was coming in, the first serious money was coming in, and so I was like, you know, I need to keep this going. And all these negative voices, they just added up to the stress that I was creating myself. Cutting these people out was something that, you know, like people came up to me and said, why did that happen? Why did that happen? I was like, I don't need to explain anything to anybody, you know. I just do it. I feel better. That way people cannot influence me directly. If they still want to talk about me, that's great, because it means that I'm doing something that pissed them off and they feel the need of being talking to me. And it means that they care, because I wouldn't be talking about somebody if I did not care, right? It's not like, I don't know, it's not like I'm having conversations about people that I don't care anymore. You know, if I care, then I keep talking about them.
I'm wondering about many things. I'm specifically wondering about your method of acceptance.
I practice it every day. I don't know where I got this from. I think it was a video on YouTube. But basically, every day I sit down on Evernote, I write 3 phrases. I do it first thing in the morning. I have a reminder 7:30 that tells me to do that. On Evernote, I fill a note which basically says what I'm thankful for, what I'm going to let go of, and what I'm going to be focusing on. And this is basically a small mind checklist that I do every single day to remind me of the things that I should be happy for, which generally speaking, you know, are my wife, the fact that I'm basically still in the good and bad working on my dream. I'm thankful for my dog, you know, because she reminds me of all the cuteness and beauty of this world. Then I write of what I'm going to let go, which is, you know, like usually speaking, I try to let go of things that people have done to me in the past. And what I try to focus on is focusing on positivity, because unfortunately negativity, even though it might reflect a little bit reality, it doesn't put you in the right mood to face the day. And this is not just la 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 talk. This is something that happens at a biological level in your brain. There are some mechanisms that happens when you're negative that amplify negativity in your head. And so practicing positivity is very important. We can expand on that. But basically that's what I do. And I keep thinking, you know, like what I'm going to be focusing on. Usually the ideas that I'm going to focus on, like creating enticing content for the people that follow me. This is one of the things that I write all the time. And also like to continue practicing my art, because I'm a designer. I haven't really worked as an artist, although some people say that, you know, what we do, it's art. But art to me has a different meaning from what I've done in Archivist. And I think it's a great way to express yourself. You know, we are creators by nature. You know, the fact that we are able to create other humans is in our nature, right? And so creating, making, you know, videos, making pictures on Instagram, that is a reflection of our nature. We are creators by nature. And so I think that everybody, in order to live a healthier life, they should understand that, and they should use it as a creative outlet, you know, to sort of like letting yourself go and confirm the fact that you as a human are a creator. Sorry, I gave you a very extended answer on this.
You've never sounded more Italian. I love it. It's like because people can't see how you're using your hands right now, but you actually are.
I'm very passionate about this topic, you know, because it's like, you know, a lot of the competition that we have in our field could be solved if people were a little bit more true to themselves in their pursuit of finding a purpose. Instead, you know, a lot of us, we choose the easy way. And in Archivist, this is very evident because, you know, in Archivist, you don't really need a qualification to do this job. You don't really need, you know, the further we move in technological development, the easier it gets for people to be able to make a normal picture. And so having a lot of people that are trying to do the same thing simply because, you know, they see it and it's there and it's very easy to do is what is creating all this unfair competition between companies, you know? Mm-hmm. Because that's another thing, that every industry always optimizes for primarily for the lowest MVP, for the lowest minimum viable product. You can think of like, you know, the car industry. The masses, they don't care about BMW, Mercedes, and all the big companies. They just want to have the cheapest thing that does the job of a car. And then, of course, as you go up in the market gets better and more expensive. And so, you know, by having an industry in Archivist where the majority of people can produce low-end products, then the average client will settle for the low-end product. It's inevitable. That's one of the basic rules of economy.
I can't wait for people to start commenting on this conversation that we have, because they take certain things that you just said probably personal. I mean, it's evident that if you are following up, if you're following up on a conversation that has happened outside of this one and you're bringing it into it, then probably they will feel addressed or feel like it's going about them. But I want to make clear that this conversation is about you, and it's also about me and how we are tackling things. This is not an invitation for people to be trolls. I truly believe that you have a very healthy approach. I'm not sure if I can if I can follow along with the aspect of concentrating on the positive things, because the way that I have viewed life was always about contrast, and I need the negative aspect to see the positive, otherwise I couldn't make a difference. Obviously feeling good all the time is just not an option, because you can't be in a total high. It doesn't exist.
No.
But so I'm trying to I mean, that's also kind of what Kéfi is about, as explained earlier. It's also about just accepting life as what it is and make it about the positive things. But I probably will never be able to ignore the other part.
Okay, you know? let me rephrase this, because I really need to make sure that people understand it. It would be crazy to think that life it's only about positivity. It would be stupid to think that life it's only about positivity. And I hope, you know, if somebody coming from this podcast will go to my videos and watch them, I have made videos where I try to explain, you know, like what positivity means. However, again, because of this polarization of people that, you know, say it's either black or white, you need to be able to understand that, you know, because you might be a pragmatic, right? Alain de Botton talks about this all the time, that we live in an extremely positively tuned society, and that's because this is good for business. You know, if I keep bombarding you with information such as you deserve more, you're supposed to be healthy, you're supposed to be good looking, you're supposed to be fucking every day, you know, like, I'm sorry, I'm throwing things at you. that is something that for business is really good, because when that doesn't happen, you find a refuge into things that you can actually sometimes purchase. Like, really, you have no idea. This lockdown was the best thing that happened to e-commerce.
Of course,
because everything was optimized for making it easy for you to buy shit, you know? Like, there is an example that I show to my clients, which is the Nike app, the training app. Nike would send you reminders, great workout today, reward yourself with this 30% discount. And it's like, Jesus, man, it's like, congratulations to Nike, but also people, be careful, because you're gonna spend more money than when you had a job, you know?
Oh my God. Yeah, well, thank you, Nike. That's just great that you're rewarding us with a percentage, because we're actually making an effort to improve ourselves. And it's not about you, so fuck off, Nike. But when I'm looking at this pandemic, I also see a lot of people not only diving into the aspects of commercial value, of growing their business, of all these things. I also see a lot of people becoming very mindful about their own struggle, because it's pretty hard to distract yourself. You can't watch Netflix. I mean, probably some people can watch Netflix every day, but I'm just saying you can't do it all day, all the time, and still function as a human being. I would say that this isolation that we are in probably has put our antennas very much inwards and not outside, and suddenly people realize, oh, there's actually a lot of stuff that I have never really coped with. There's probably therapy that I need. There's probably something that I have to do about this. There's no distraction possible all the time, and this can be seen as a bad thing. This can be seen as a good thing, because obviously there are things that you probably shouldn't focus on, especially when you have a certain way to think about yourself, or if you're actually having mental health issues. And I think there were statistics, I think in Germany, where they said that, I mean, not only the suicide account went up, it's also that the depression was diagnosed way like 5 times as much in children. Parents had fights in their families, and the children weren't able to not see that anymore because they couldn't go to school or something like that. Like, the awareness of everything that's wrong, or that is not good and healthy for you is growing with something like a social distance happening. How has this been affecting you?
So I don't have kids, so you know, this is something that I don't feel like I can contribute on. But
not on the kids part, but about mental health for yourself and for your wife, and you know?
There has been a point in time where I really felt, okay, this is actually getting to my head, and I did a little bit of research on the topic. I was looking at how certain people, especially online, were dealing with like mental health in general, and I found some of the answers in a guy that I was already following a while ago. I think his name is Tom Billier, and the guy was basically saying, you know, like, things will start affecting you at the moment that you don't take action on them. Every time that there is something that affects you, you should take action on the things that are affecting you. And so one thing that though you have to remember is that always, like, for anything that you're doing for yourself, you should never look for feedback. Never, ever. Especially in a situation like social media. If you're trying to lose weight, I can give you an example. You should just focus on working on losing weight rather than make everybody participant of that, because then you add a variable in case you fail, right? That will add to the stress of you failing at losing weight. You're trying to improve your art. You know, if we're talking about somebody that is already very expert and they're trying to get to the next level, maybe you might be looking for some feedback on a specific artwork. That's different. But if you're trying to learn how to make portraits and you're starting from zero, do that on your own time. Do not look for feedback online, because people will put you down. It's inevitable. And all these little things, the antidote to let things attack you is for you to attack those things back. And you have to do it in your own terms. One thing that, for instance, in this new lockdown was actually really affecting me is my physical state. I've had some injuries. I was a professional sports guy in the past. And so now some of these injuries are coming back, right? Okay, I'm starting very slow, one step at a time, to train at home. That maybe not fix my physical state right now, but it gives my mind enough food for thought to think that I'm actually fighting that situation. And in a way, it gives you sort of like a sense of accomplishment. Same thing with my art. I now started to work with Blender. The stuff that I'm doing looks so stupid. I have my own private Instagram. I post that stuff there. I'm doing it for myself. If people want to laugh, I don't care. I'm not looking for feedback. I'm not saying, hey guys, what do you think about my... No, I'm doing it for myself. I don't care. It's that question of acceptance also that we were talking about it before. You know, it's like I've come to terms with the fact that, you know, at the moment I'm overweight. I've worked so much in the past 3 years. People have no idea. You know, I pulled like 16 hours, one after another, 7 days a week. I had business meetings where I was leaving at 3 o'clock in the night. I was home at 8 in the evening, traveling from Tel Aviv to Russia, from Tel Aviv to Ukraine, from Tel Aviv to Germany. I did not make any one part of that, you know, with my videos and everything. I kept it for myself because I was like, hey, you know what? If I fail at that, at least, you know, people never know that it happened. Now I told you, so people will know.
Oh, shit. Can't tell them.
You know, the point is that whilst I was doing that, I did not need the confirmation from anybody. You know, I just did it on my own. And I don't know, I think, you know, like acceptance, practice acceptance every day. When you get up, write it down why you're happy and try to let go of the things that make you unhappy. It might sound like a stupid thing, but it's a mental exercise that really does work. And I keep telling also my clients, look, we exist on both the material level and on the abstract level. The abstract level, it's the most difficult level to handle and to master because it doesn't really exist. You cannot see it. But the difference, say, between Bill Gates and whatever guy that is trying to create his own computer company might not have happened, it might not exist on a material level, it might exist only at an abstract level, right? And so you need to acknowledge that. That's why I keep saying to people, you know, read books. Even when people say, why should I read books? I have experience. It doesn't matter. There is somebody that somewhere can give you something. And if you don't want to read books and you think you can get that stuff from YouTube or from Netflix, be my guest, but do acknowledge that there is information that you might need that you don't have, that it's there somewhere and you'll never find it unless you look for it. It's as simple as that.
And if you don't want to read books, just check out Fabio's YouTube content because this guy is super smart and he probably has a couple of things to say, which might be interesting for you.
You know, like I hate doing these plugs, but yeah, if people want to check out my videos, I'm not gonna answer to the comments. But yeah,
thank you so much, man. This is just really good stuff, and I'm super grateful.
I really hope that you got
joined us.
some value out of it.
Like I'm at the point that from the ones that I mentioned earlier, where I'm not really doing this for the masses, but more for the 1 or 2 people that actually might listen to this and get something from it, because I've been at the same spot, and the reason why I'm doing this is exactly because of that. So I really appreciate you taking your time to to follow my invitation and having this conversation, because we're certainly not doing this to get subscribers. So don't subscribe, and please ignore all that shit. And I don't want you to subscribe or to follow this.
Can I just say one more thing before we say goodbye?
Go for it.
I do realize that as a person, I'm all over the place, and I like to talk a lot. If you come from the archivist industry, and if I said something that might be non-motivational, that might make you reconsider going into archivist, or if I said something that is making you think that you should not pursue one of your dreams, this is not what I try to share with the community. And I say this because I do realize, English, it's not my first language, and the conversation should be a lot bigger. What I try to do is I try to make people I try to give them something that can help them think. But the thinking part cannot happen in my mind. It has to happen in the mind of the listener. So do take everything that I say with a grain of salt, and try to understand that I'm trying to make you do things and not make you do things. Spiridon, I'm very happy that you invited me. Props to you for doing this, and I hope that people got some value out of it.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks a lot again, mate.